Well, as you can see there's the suicide nets. Hmm?
That was like A2.
Warning, A3 CCTV cameras in operation. Now that's giving me a look from the outside for when I come and do the prison break. But I'm just going to doss around on A3 level, just so I can go back and have a good look at the cell that I was last in the late 80s. Subscribe, like, official topic talk. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell.
Channel 3 now.
Again, I remember coming here, queuing up here, to get my toothpaste and my toothbrushes. This brings back some memories. There were some good officers that used to sit in this office here. If you can look, you can see the handcuffs. Don't know who that is.
I think we are now.
Looks like a
Or
dickhead.
TV show.
Who?
TV show.
TV show. Well, this ain't no show. This ain't no joke, people. This is live and direct from HMP Shrewsbury, the Dana. Just to think I was actually on this landing, right? In 1986 to 87, I was actually physically on this landing. This is where I used to be housed from 86 to 87, and then again from 87 to 88. And this is the exact landing where I used to be housed when I was a little tow rag. 3 separate occasions I ended up on the same cell. What time did that guy say? I can go back. Hmm? What time did he say? Have a look inside, you see the toilets. What time did he say? 1:45? Babe.
Probably 20 past.
No, the wing that we was on before was a female. Now this is your standard bed, people. Babe, oh this, I'm going to have a lay down on that bed.
Huh?
I'll never lay down on that bed to let me film it.
Yeah,
And I'll do the same at A321 because that used to be my home. And to think, in 1989 I said I'm never coming back. Man, this used to be the life. Do you know what? I never used to like sitting on the top bunk. I always had the bottom bunk. Because if anybody rushed in through the door, I'd be the first one on my feet. I smashed the first one in the face that came through that door. This is bringing back some memories, people. Memories of the days that I used to be a fucking toe rag and an idiot. Hmm? Is that the tour? I don't know, I've still got to do mine. I just have to keep it quiet. A343. But I will be heading back down to the other end once they finish their prison escape. because I want to see the very last cell that I had ever stayed in back in the late 80s. Why? I want to go back to this.
We'll go back to this house in a minute. Yeah, we'll do the courtyard.
Should we go back? Do you want to go up a level or do you want to go down?
We'll go down.
Go up to the floors and come back. This ain't to the courtyard. Look, this is where we used to go for our laundry. This is where we used to collect or see the medical officer. Now we're going to go back down onto EA1 before I go back up to the freeze to see my last cell that I stayed in. So we've come back to the start now. So we have, because look, there's a direction for A-wing where we've just come from.
Yeah, is that where it's at?
Yeah, this is where we should have come from. Now these stairs here, oh, we've done it back to front, that's why. This takes us back to C-wing, which we want to stay on A-wing. Because you're doing it, come down here. And this takes us back to A-wing. Now this is where the officers used to sit and talk, and there you can see some of their pips. Now here's a look at your modern cells. This is A-wing on A1. And this is how your modern day cell would be. Oh no, I'm coming back. This is what a cell would look like in the 60s. No, I know we haven't even been in here yet. See, these cells here, 2013 cell. And here's your modern day of, if you was in jail today, this is what your cell could look like. Well, where did you go? Down here. And this is where the comms of the prison would be. And of course, because I've been a prisoner, I would never have got to see these. Look, I'm on camera. But this is where the prison would be secured from, where everybody can see everything going on the wing. Where have you gone? Babe. Babe. This is where your adjudicating officer's office would be. If you was ever to be in trouble, this is where I think you would find yourself. You seen the other room down there? The adjudicating officer's room. Right, where are we? We're back on A wing now. Eh? You coming to A wing? This is a dead end. Actually, what's down here? Looks like where the toilets are. Prison service roll of honour. This is the adjudicating officer's room. God, I'm enjoying this prison visit. Looking at stuff that. Whereas before I was a prisoner in this prison, these are the areas I certainly wouldn't have had access to. Did you do the security room? Well, people, that's been an hour and 20 minutes like it's taken me so far to get around this prison, but you know, I really want to get to A321 cell just to reminisce. It's 3:10 now. I think they said they finished about 3:15. But yeah, this has been very interesting. I mean, these are areas I would never have been able to visit when I was a tearaway in my old days, back in the late 80s, when I got incarcerated for being a naughty boy. I'm now going to attempt to get to A321. Oh. And this is the mess that would be made if the right officers would ever come and enter your cell. This is how your cell would have ended up.
Have you done the padded cell?
No, where is it? And this is where you'd be if you was a fruit and nutcase.
Yeah, just put your glass phone right against it and you'll see it.
Yeah. There we go, there's your padded cell, people. Fucking hell, they used to have hammocks back in the Victorian times. That's how your cell would be. Hammocks, people. No, not an A-wing. That's male Victorian cell. Oh, and here we got a female Victorian. Notice how the females get beds, people. You know, and the men in the Victorian times would have to have hammocks.
Yeah, they're going to have to pee in a bucket.
Ah, they've got a toilet, but did they have them in Victorian days? I'm sure it used to be slop out. And it looks like they're the sort of uniforms that they would be made to wear. C-wing via yard. No, what's down here, babe? Museums down here. Oh, intervention suite. This is basically where the listeners would be housed, and these people had exceptional things that they would have their cell doors open. Because they've got a duty of care to the inmates if they wanted to commit suicide or if they were getting bullied. Their first port of call would be the listener, and this is how the listener's cell would be. You know, if you notice the size of the cell is a lot bigger. And also look at the stuff he's got in his cell compared to the other cells. It certainly shows the luxury that the listeners would have been given, and that was because there are museums back there. But I want to go up. Here we go, the famous shower block on the ones. I've had many scraps in this actual shower block. I've had 2 fights back in the late 80s because you've also got a football table, you know, which would have been standard on the late 80s. And this is your kitchen. This is where the servery would start. You know, and then you'd walk along the line, and where this board is put across, that is where you'd actually collect your food from. But this, people, is where you'd come in through this door, you'd come in through that door there, you'd come to your first part of the servery, you'd get your chips, you'd get your cake, you'd get your peas, you'd get your carrots, you'd get your fish, and then you'd enter out after collecting your food through this door here. And it's exactly how I remember it, people. You'd come in through that door. The servery would be along here, and you'd come out of this door, and this is where you'd sit and eat your. This is where you'd sit and eat your food. Now, when you're first brought in here, you're out on A1, which is the ones, and as you can see, these are the cells that would be allocated to when you first come into the jail, these are one of the cells that you would have. They would then move you up onto level 2. As you can see, these are the first night cells. Again, that brings back some memories. But then you'd have the one ladder for going up and one ladder for coming down. Oh man, look. Fucking hell. Look like sink people in the guy's cell. This is the block, people. This is where you'd end up. That's the block, that is. That's where you go when you kick off and you cause a lot of problems. T-boy cell. Now, the T-boy and the cleaner, they were the only two that would have luxuries. Because a part of the job that they do, they used to get given privileges. The cell would have been the same as any other cell in the Shrewsbury prison in 2030. However, it was the name the T-boy cell. This is because the prisoner who was housed in this cell would have been a trusted prisoner who was responsible for making the officers' tea. So he would have been given some... What's this one? That's the riot cell. Look at the state of that.
I know.
That's when you're a complete arsehole and the riot squad's got to come and get you. Right, I want to go up to the 3s again. Eh? Ain't they finished yet? I think they said 1:45. Quarter 4, people. I'm gonna make my way again up to A321 because I wanna look back on that cell because that was the very last one I was in the late 80s. So we're going to have a look at the museum.
We've already been in the museum.
Have we? We haven't been down here. We're going to go back that way in a minute. Shit house! Shit house! Restaurant and museum.
That'll be pretty freaky if we actually saw that weird ghost in the cell called the Grey Lady.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, and this is your, this is the restaurant where you can get your coffee and your cakes. But we're not ready for cakes and coffee yet, are we? That's out into the courtyard.
That's a museum.
The execution room. Ah, the exercise yard. We haven't been out here yet. Yeah, because where you'd be. Right, this is the yard we used to come through. This building here, this grey building here, once a week we used to collect all our canteen and cigarettes and what have you from there. Babe. In that building there is where you used to collect your weekly canteen. with his head.
Yep. Off with your bloody head.
Off with his head.
Yeah, and you got a smaller one.
But this is yard, people. This is used to be. This used to be the exercise yard, because you'd come out that door. This building here, the grey building, is where we used to collect your weekly canteen. And I do believe this door here, that leads you back into C Wing. Right over the other side is where the exercise yard is. And that's also where you used to go for your work. Huh? Yeah. Right, this is the other side of the yard, I think. Let's go and have a look. Ooh, this is where people come for a sneaky fag. Fag break, people! You know, don't have a set, babe. You can have a smoke here, that's what they got the thing round there for.
I need to fucking sit down more, like.
On the train tracks.
Yeah, don't blame me. I've done working my bit. Fuck it, I've done working my bit. I'm getting fucking tired now.
What time is it? 3:20?
Yes. There you go. Train tracks. I can pause it if you want. Carry on. Do you want to pause it for now?
No.
What?
Keep it going. Get high, you baby.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Wait, you're fucking holding it again in a minute.
Yeah, as soon as I roll this.
Yeah. Like we mean the whole of anyway, yeah. That's because you know, people just, yeah. Look, done. Just show it and then they can pause it to read it. That's what I've just done with mine. As well.
Just having a bag break, people. So, what do you reckon so far, people? Hope you've enjoyed the tour around the Shrewsbury prison. Now we are going to try and make our way to the exercise yard, and then I can show you where we used to go for our work, to do our work, and then hopefully in the next half an hour I can actually go to A321, which was a cell that I was in on 3 separate imprisonments in this jail in the late 80s. I found this quite interesting because there's certain parts of this prison I've never seen or been able to in the past to get to see, because obviously of being incarcerated here. And one day I shall go into the reasons why I was incarcerated here. But today so far we started off on C Wing, which in the Georgian times up until 1971 used to be a female part of the prison. From 1971 to 2013, C Wing held the sex offenders, the vulnerable prisoners, and award 43 cases. Not going to mention no names, but maybe 1 or 2 people should be locked up in the C Wing in this jail. And the last wing that we visited, A wing, that was where I was housed on 3 separate occasions. We shall continue. And over here we have the railways from back in the Georgian days. This is where the food and everything would be brought in. Now let's continue. Right, which way are we going? That's the canteen if we want something to eat. That's your shit houses. Now we're heading back onto A wing, A1, where the prisoners will first be brought in, which we've covered themselves before they allocate you up onto A2. We've covered the T-boy cell who had the privileges of mandatory drug testing. Now, from time to time, they would just randomly get people, prisoners in here, and they would drug test them. And this is the room that the drug testing would be done in. The officer would escort the prisoner. That's where they would do their testing. And this is a strip cell. They would first come into here, into this cell, where they'd be strip searched to make sure they've got nothing on them. They would then give their sample. Look, running tap, let's turn it off. There we go. Grey lady, where are you? But I do promise you, again, this is the surgery unit. You used to go through this door, into the area there, and you'd walk along the surgery. And this is the door you'll come out with once you've collected your meal, and then you'll go from here. You'll be going up the far staircase because the near staircase is the one that you go up, and the far staircase is the staircase you would come down, and you'll immediately come from here, the surgery, and you'll be straight back up into your cell, which I'm now going to attempt to get back to A321.
Yeah, as you can see up there.